Well, for me, the bad behavior started in the academy. It was immediate that I didn't fit into their mold. Even as simple as taking class exams. You know, you get the exam back. You know how y'all do in high school. It's like, hey, go to the locker room. What'd you get on number 5? What'd you get on number 6? And one question would come up, and somebody say, oh, yeah, we can do that. And I say, well, no, actually, you can't. And if you're going to go get a warrant, execute a warrant on, say, John, and John is in Jimmy's house, unless you saw John in the street and said he had a warrant and he ran into Jimmy's house, or which is fresh and continued pursuit, or you go to the door, knock, knowing that he's in there, and you hear somebody say, I'm going to kill you. You can kick the door and go in. Now, if you find John, now you can arrest him. You don't know what the F you're talking about. We're the effing police. We can do what we want to do. Of course, I was one of the only people to get the question right. Another situation like that was a fact pattern that was supposed to lead you to determine whether or not you could arrest on a felony or not. And the case pattern was basically a motor vehicle broken into in the nighttime, certain value of instruments, audiovisual stuff stolen, and that kind of thing. And it led you right up to like, yep, arrest, felony, eat piece of cake. But it was back in the day when they used a Duquesne machine, which used to put in paper that overlapped each other sometimes. And because of that, part of the fact pattern was missing. And I was reading the fact pattern, found the vehicle, found that property was spilled all over the ground. But then all of a sudden I was driving down an aisle and I see 2 people carrying a VCR box. It identified that the VCR box came out of the truck, but didn't connect them to the truck. And the sergeant had come out and said initially, we were going to throw out this question because of what happened with the Duquesne machine. But one officer one cadet really rationalized what happened, and with the little information he had, actually came up with the right answer. So we're keeping the question in, and that cadet is Bil Gardiner. And from the back of the room, fucking know-it-all. And that was the academy. And it got worse from there. By the time I graduated and got on the street, there were already officers who didn't want to work with me. My field training officer pulled me around by the nose all week. Luckily, he got promoted, so I got rid of him. But I was just treated like crap because I wouldn't break the law, wouldn't bend the law, and I wouldn't, as I like to call, step on people's necks. I like to treat everybody as human, and I guess that's a good way to start. This is allowed to happen because the police culture in this country is completely flawed. It's disgusting. It's all about us against them. Statements are made. One of my favorite statements that I like to bring up is that officers will often say, I'd rather be carried by 12 than I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, which if you loosely translate that means shoot first and ask questions later. There's a whole, if I tell you to do something, do it. And if you don't, there's going to be hell to pay. Ultimately, they don't treat or see other people as human. And that has a lot to do with it. Two different things I could say. If any other city employee in this city behaved the way a good portion of these police officers did, they wouldn't have their jobs anymore. And we all know that. They'd be fired instantly. But for some reason, this behavior, that's the way police need to be. It's kind of like the hush-hush that happens underneath. And it definitely shouldn't be tolerated at all. There's lots of solutions. Unfortunately, none of that comes from within the police department. Like a few of those things you said were like, that would be the responsibility of the police department. They don't believe they're doing anything wrong. That's the first thing. A lot of other times, and this is a case here in Worcester, and someone alluded to it a little earlier, that the city councilors are, in fact, and we got one to admit it, afraid of the police department because of their power and their strength and their unionizing. and who they support, who they don't support. If we don't support you, well, you're probably not going to get support, kind of thing. And there's all kinds of ways to change this. And some things are really simple. You know, it's a matter of getting cops together with people in the community and having open conversations and saying, look, I'm a human being, you're a human being. Let's break bread together. Let's talk together. Let's grow a garden together. Let's paint a mural together. If slowly but surely, even if it's just the officers who don't have typical problems with doing it, eventually it kind of grows and grows and grows. And you find that once people realize that each other is human, that was one particular organization I belonged to, asked the question, well, officer, would you treat this person this badly on a motor vehicle stop if it was your mother? And that should stop you in your tracks. And the fact that you can actually do this to someone else's mother, brother, father, sister, uncle, whatever it be, just, you know, exacerbates that whole situation. So